Insomnia, a short story. The narrator is sleepless on a cruise ship. No one has ever thought of anything intelligent to say about the sea. Every adjective sinks to the bottom and drowns. Sentences implode like submarines. So I'm not going to say the sea is this or that tonight. I could say it is black, dark, inky, but it is better to say it is an hallucination, full of monsters, a belly, a churning stomach that is never still enough to ever see. Most continuous are the awing murmurs of the hull, adjusting to swells and tensions. They are always there, but inaudible or indistinct, but more unvarying than the deep hum of the turbines. The best place to overhear it is in my bunk, perfectly still, looking straight up. Everything is moving, this part against that, every joint, all together. It is 12 hours since we lost all sight of land, the land that never wants to let go. And that moment when the last pinnacles fade, the last flat peninsula, and the sea eats up all the horizontal lines in an unconcentrated moment, as unnatural as re-entering the womb. I'm not afraid, but the ship enters the darkness, and the darkness is in flux. It is 12 hours into the ephedrine darkness. I am thinking I'm on a ghost ship. There is no one at the helm. Previously, there had never been an incident on the Silver Dream. The cruise ship had crossed the deep ocean on many hundreds of journeys. On her last journey, though, one of the crew, a young woman named Jasmine Chulo, had gone missing and was presumed to have gone overboard. Every check was made. Every corner of the ship was searched and searched again. She was last seen in the crew recreational court near the pool on deck 3, an area close to passengers. But there was no conceivable way of falling over the rails. You would need to climb the rails and jump, or be thrown. The ship stayed in port for 3 months during the investigation. I read about it in the newspapers after I'd bought my ticket. It was an open finding. No one knows what happened to Jasmine Chulo. I am awake and discombobulated with the swaying discombobulations of the sea. Seasick down to the fluid subconscious strata, as queasy as a clock. I'm good at sea. Even in rough weather, I keep my feet. But the disquiet isn't in my feet. The nausea isn't in my intestines. It's in my head. Mind is more entangled than intestines. The discombobulations of the sea come about naturally from having no fixed point of reckoning, not having a pillow on which to lay your thoughts. The small cabin portal is an empty gesture. It is always covered in dark, cold tears that never clear. There shouldn't be much footfall outside the cabin. I much prefer to think that I'm abandoned, in a hulk, in some undisclosed aftermath. I am my own apocalypse, though. I'm listening for clues of some arrival. It is someone from a back cabin. First one, then 2. They come back in 5 minutes. For the next 20 minutes, 20 minutes of sea time, my entire ear listens for any further footfall. The back cabins go quiet again. We can laugh, but the man in the mirror is not the man he used to be. This is a salty-minded man. This is a man with memories. This is a man who keeps a detective novel beside his bed, who reads 3 pages, puts it down, reads another page. This is a man who needs a shave. This is a man who will welcome the solid soil of Lisbon. This is a man who puts on his shoes and wanders down to the passenger lounge empty. This is a man who won't dive down. The sea, that is both inscrutable and ineffable, but neither of those adjectives survive. Everyone else on board will miss the emptiest hour. I won't be the same. Ghosts go to sea. When someone dies, their ghost buys a ticket on the Silver Dream. They stand on the forecastle deck and never look back. And they see the tankers pass in the far distance, black, shadow-flagged, creeping, whale sailing, silent, Mary-blessed and oil-laden transports manned by Filipino sailors, most of them now dreaming under the clouds, others playing cards under DC lighting. They support big families in villages. They are the only sociology in the night, other than phantoms and the cleaning staff who come through the passenger lounge with buckets and mops at the change of shift at 2 a.m. The call to listen for on the public address is mob, mob, M-O-B, man overboard. But that is only if someone sees the man go overboard. No one noticed Jasmine Chulo missing till the next day when she failed to report to her position. They checked their quarters. It can only be after searching the entire ship and searching at another time that you reach the conclusion the sea has been hungry again. The hallways, passageways you call them on a ship, have their own claustrophobia. I'm going to the ladder to the main deck and pass a uniformed man sideways, letting each other through. The turbines are a more apparent reality in the ambience of the crew quarters. The areas closed to passengers are the areas I would like to explore, alone, quietly, while the fingers of the land have let go. Every latch is locked. I'm only curious. When I say an awing murmur, it is situated behind the teeth, but not in the throat, and it sways, but there is no pattern to the adjustments. I might say the ship aches, and probably in the deep floors you can hear it so, but in my cabin it is a continuous murmur, swing, but with no breath, like a lady who exaggerates the effort of standing up. And in the passageways, the tangle of passageways and sealed doors, there are bubbles of artificial silence. We have a brief conversation. "Steady tonight," he says. "I suppose it is." "Yes," I say. "Making good time." "Yes." And then he wishes me a good night as he heads off towards the bow. No one has ever thought of anything intelligent to say about the wind, aft and bitter. When I break the seal on the door, I pull up my hood. There is a chill factor. The wind is a layer of horizontal menace wiping the sea surface. I have no purpose. I have no reason to step into the weather. A ship will suck up all our reasons. Everything comes after salvation. Although my purpose is to have no thoughts, and it is mildly successful. I am blasted in the dark on the main deck, assaulted by the callous breath of the south. The wind picks up a swell. When the ocean rolls, the ship can only follow, and she pushes against the dark gale. I am frozen awake, but at least I cannot think. An hallucination full of monsters, a belly, a churning stomach that is never still enough to ever see. There is no one in the long white passageways, or the passenger lounge, or the entertainment areas in the forward decks, the casino and coffee lounge. I am loitering in the post-apocalyptic phase of the long night. Everyone has abandoned ship, but no one remembered to knock on my cabin door, except there is a man who has been watching the oil tanker passing, and he said to me as he passed, "It's on its way back to Dubai, I'd say." I knew a girl once who drowned, Heather Draper Cole. She was yachting with her brother Tony. They went down. She drowned, was swept away. I knew her brother Tony. He never talked about it. I had the morbid mind. I knew Heather too, not well, but I knew her. She did well in athletics. She could run. I could see her face getting dark and overwhelmed, and I lay in my bed, fretting for air. In the weeks after she drowned, I processed it in my lungs. For some reason, she became a seahorse in my mind at the time, Heather Draper Cole, after everything of Heather Draper Cole was dissolved. I always imagined she became a seahorse. Did you hear that Heather Draper Cole was lost? Was the talk in my family. She was lost or taken. No one ever merely said she drowned. They called off the search. She was lost. On the long passageway with the side portals that goes back to the poop deck, as they call it, there is a point where you can see the place where it is surmised Jasmine Chulo possibly went adrift on the previous voyage. The ship moves at 20-30 knots. That is about 25 miles per hour average. Imagine driving a huge truck across the Atlantic Ocean at 25 miles per hour. The mind chatters like dolphins. Perhaps it was Herman Melville who suggested you cannot have a good idea as soon as you step ashore, and that all fertile ideas, at least, are conceived in the amniotic deep. I don't need a white whale for my fixations, but just boarding the Silver Dream and saying goodbye to solid land stirs up ideas, some of them good perhaps. But the sea cycles, and then it cycles again. Sentences sink like submarines and then implode under the pressure. Perhaps it was Ernest Hemingway who banished adjectives because the sea and old men reach a place where adjectives are sodden. Seawater invading your lungs bears no description. The poetry of icebergs hides the brutal fact. We go rudderless into the icy water. My cabin is about 15 foot by 12. I've managed to keep my luggage under the regulation weight. The Silver Dream is a city. It can take me an hour to walk from one end to the other. The turbines run the lights. The lights have a fizzy glow. It's not like the light on land. There are no shadows on a ghost ship. No one has ever thought of anything intelligent to say about the plain grey sky, so I'm not going to say it is this or that tonight. Even to say it is grey is an attempt at deception. There is nowhere to go. You can hide in a nook, a galley, but there is nowhere to go. Every threshold is too daunting. I like the land and the way the land parts the sky into blue and cloud, and the way clouds can coagulate around the rises, the hills and mountains. Everything is upside down. The deep valleys are uncharted below us. A mile down there are massive peaks. I stand looking at Nordicalia. There are pictures of old cruise liners and steamships on the walls. The bulkheads, that is to say. Everything about this reminds me of Uncle Ted. We called him Uncle Ted. He lived behind us. In fact, he was nobody's uncle. He was just the man who lived behind us. What was there about Uncle Ted? The ocean was his retirement plan. Over, I would say, 15 years, he built himself a boat. And one day a big crane arrived and hoisted it away to the sea. But by then I was at university. I never saw Uncle Ted living on his boat, as he always planned. He must have thought a lot about the inevitable tides. What was there about Uncle Ted? There is also the story of Simone Holmes, who was lost, as they say. That is a terrible story. She was scuba diving. Her ship sailed away. She told someone she was going diving, but he fell asleep. They went back. No sign of her. I imagined her coming to the surface, finding the ship gone, waking up in a nightmare. Lisbon, they say, is the only major European city on the Atlantic seaboard. It is maritime. In Singapore and Kuala Lumpur, there are the old Sino-Portuguese colonial buildings. People say that Lisbon has the same romance. But first there are puzzles, because I confront the night as a place to reach conclusions. That is my mistake. The nausea, as I say, isn't in my intestines. It takes the form of waking dreams. Nighttime is 100 Sudokus. I might walk the decks again. I'm thinking that the footfall of Jasmine Chulo is still fresh in this ship. What if, as was a theory, some member of the crew was the unknown killer? And what if they are still on board? It could be the captain himself. You never know. But those are the thoughts of the man in the mirror, when he is stretched, when he is strung, when his eyes are speaking caffeine. Or maybe Tony didn't like his sister, and Uncle Ted. He never married Uncle Ted. That was strange. He built his boat. He married the sea. But he had a friend, his friend Sean. Of course, Uncle Ted was a homosexual. I only just realised that. A small cabin portal is always covered in dark, cold tears that never clear. And even though the tears are hypnotic and they dribble, and the sea spray is black, grim, spitting and relentless, all night, even then I am not mesmerised. I would let go of every adjective if I could. It is adjectives that haunt me. I lie awake looking for words for things that cannot be described. No one has ever thought of anything intelligent to say about sleep.